Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are such a weird concept. The four brothers have lasted decades, but people always tend to forget about those side characters. I mean, if you've seen the first film, Casey Jones just might be the MVP of the whole thing, as well as April's as integral to the story as any of the brothers. So today I'm recasting those side characters for another reboot, hopefully a good one. And since I've already tackled the four brothers and Splinter already, it just makes sense to go here next. But before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark. Now Surfshark is a VPN that allows you to protect your data from it being breached, which is great. But if I'm being honest, I mainly use it to change my IP address so I can watch things that aren't available in my country. Like let's say you want to watch the Turtles and you live in Canada. Well, you only have one option, so you're kind of out of luck. Or you could change your IP address to appear like you're from the States. Then you have more options as well as the 2012 series to watch. And the great thing about Surfshark is it allows unlimited devices. So use promo code BrianSeeker to get 83% off and 3 months extra free. So check the link in the description below for more details. As for the castings today, we are tackling April, Casey Jones, Krang, and Shredder. So let's recast the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for today. First up, let's tackle April. Now for the brothers, I doubled down on the teenage aspect of the Turtles, since it's largely forgotten when adapting them. So I think that should translate into April as well. So I'm looking for a younger, more impressionable kind of teen who finds herself and finds a family with the Turtles. She needs to, of course, have that undaunted nature and that fun-loving personality that just fits the mold. Of course, she needs to start off skeptical, but should learn to love the Turtles and treat them like family. Now, I think Zendaya obviously would work well here, but I think it would be playing a little bit too similar to what she's done in the Spider-Man series. And I think it would end up something like Megan Fox from Transformers to the 2014 film. It just feels like a little bit more of the same. Instead, I ended up on Sophia Lillis, who feels exactly how I want April to feel, with that personality and that spunk, and she just looks like she's been ripped out of that original show. She has the vibe I need here, and I could see her buying into another family. And she also has the perfect level of determination, kind of go into that dangerous place without thinking twice. I'd buy into her in this role, hands down.
Seriously? Dina's been studying this for weeks, now Brad cheats off her and she has to fail the test? I mean, that is such bullshit!
So Sophia Lillis as April O'Neil. Next up, let's do Casey Jones. Now, Casey Jones, as I mentioned, is one of my favorite characters, specifically in that first film. But I kind of want to have him in a little bit of a different role here. When they make Casey a teenager like they've done in the past, it doesn't feel right. Instead, I want Casey Jones to have almost a mentorship role for the Turtles, but a little bit stuck in his ways. I want someone who feels like that hockey player and a man who's a little bit on the brink of crazy. I ended up on Sebastian Stan, who I feel like would really nail this. He's shown in the MCU he can really pull this off, and it's in Pam and Tommy that you can see that little bit of craziness peeking through. I think he can shine in an action sequence, but he's also got that deadpan humor and that little bit of deranged nature.
I'm gonna take it over from here. I know what that girl's capable of, and her run at Toronto isn't over.
I think he'd perfectly lead into that mentorship role that I want him in, and work really well in this version of Casey Jones. So Sebastian Stan as Casey Jones. Up next, let's tackle Krang, one of the few highlights of the Michael Bay versions of the Turtles. And although that movie is quite unwatchable, they kind of went for Krang, and you gotta give him credit for that. Now for Krang, I want someone who can do the motion capture and that chaotic nature. I want a psychopathic ego to match as well. Now, of course, Mark Hamill is the person to look to for a role like this, but since he's featured in fan casts over and over again, I decided to go a little bit weirder here. I went with John Leguizamo, who is an actor who I really don't see enough of, but it's looking at him back in my childhood, where he terrified me as the clown in Spawn, which really makes me think he can nail this role.
I don't want Wanda. I want you to take care of Win. And then you and the army can kick some angelic buttocks. And in return for your services, we'll get Wanda back for you. Heck, you can have everyone on the planet. Why settle for leftovers, huh?
He hasn't had much of a showing of what he can do recently, but I think he'd bring a really chaotic, interesting take on Krang. One that can definitely buy into his crazy eyes and the fun that he has in a role like this one. He's also done some voice acting in the past, and I can see him really going for this one. So John Leguizamo as Krang. Lastly, we have Shredder, and although there have been versions and versions of this character, I don't think it can get any worse than the 2014 version. Now, Shredder, of course, needs to be a lot of things. Selfish, cruel, but also a leader. I think he only cares about the strong and wants the strongest to be by his side. Now, I did look for a Japanese actor, as I did with Splinter, because if you look back in their history, I think that's important. Now, commonly in the past, they've made Shredder look massive, and personally, I hate that. I like the more ninja approach, and one that just feels incredibly well trained instead. Now, I did see comments in the last video, but there's only one name that really should be considered here, and that's Hiroyuki Sanada, because he is the only pick. I mean, look at him in the most recent Mortal Kombat. Yes, that movie does have its problems, but in that opening scene, I see exactly what I want from this character. He has a great look, voice, and even presence that just screams survival of the fittest. Honestly, I just can't picture another in this role.
This soul has a past, and like ours, it has seen much pain, much blood.
So Hiroyuki Sanada as Shredder. So there's the side characters of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Do you want me to go even weirder and crazy and characters we really haven't seen in live action? Let me know in the comments below. As always though, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.